Hello everyone, welcome to the CD3 Automation Toolkit Learning Series. In this video, we will learn how to create OCI resources using the CD3 Automation Toolkit via CLI. The assumption here is that you have already launched your CD3 container and connected it to your OCI tenancy. I have already launched the CD3 container and connected it to my OCI tenancy. Let me switch to my container. So this is the CD3 container. Let me quickly show my tenancy config output. For that, I'll have to go to CD3 user, tenancies. CD3 underscore demo is the prefix I gave in my tenancy config properties file. So that's the tenancy specific folder that got created, which will contain all the output terraform files. So these are the tenancy specific files that got generated after we executed our tenancy config. So for this demo, I'm planning to create some identity components, a network, and a compute instance within the network. Let me quickly show the CD3 Excel template and where to download it from. So this is the CD3 GitHub page. If you scroll down, you can find a quick link to the Excel templates. Click on it, and if you scroll down, you can find all the CD3 Excel templates. You can choose any of these depending on the requirement. Since I'm going to create identity, network, and compute resources, I can select any of this. So this is the CD3 Excel template I downloaded and I renamed it to CD3 demo. And I have filled in few details for these services. First is groups. Here we have an entry to create a group called demo group, and then policies to allow the demo group to read all resources in the tenancy. So you provide your policy statement here. Then a VCN. You provide all these details here. You can refer to the blue sections in each of the tabs to see how to fill in the data for each parameter. The format for each entry is specified in these sections. So based on that, I have filled in my data here. Next, I have provided details for my DHCP for the VCN. Next, I am planning to create two subnets within the CD3 VCN. I have provided the CIDR blocks and I've provided if it is a public or private subnet. Here I have also provided if there has to be a route to any of the gateways, the service gateway, network gateways, internet gateway, or any on-premise routing or VCN peering. So you just have to provide yes or no here, and the route rules will be automatically created. CD3 automatically creates route rules based on the entries that we provided here. Next is the instances tab, where I provided all my instance details. So in Frankfurt, in the CD3 compartment in availability domain 1, this is the VM I'm going to create. These are the network details for the VM. So the format is compartment at the rate VCN :subnet name. You can check the format here in this blue section. Next, I have provided my source details as image my image OCID. So my image OCID is a variable name which contains the image OCID with which the instance has to be created. Then I provided the shape. You can check the format above for this as well. Then I provided the memory in GBs. Next is the SSH key variable name. Here I provided the variable which contains my SSH public key. So the my image OCID and SSH public key variables are defined in the variables file of Frankfurt region. I'll show how to do that. So now the input Excel file is ready. We have to copy it to the container. I'm using a tool called CyberDuck. You can use any secure copy tool for that. Provide the server IP. I'm giving CD3 user as the username to avoid any permission issues. So this user is created when the container is launched. Next, I'll select my SSH private key and then connect. So it has connected now. I'll go into the CD3 user folder and mount path. So the tenancies directory inside the container is mapped to mount path on this work VM. So you can see the CD3 demo folder here. I'll click on it. I'll place my Excel file here. So let us now switch to the container terminal. So here I have to go into CD3 user, tenancies, CD3 demo folder. If I do an ls, I can see my Excel sheet here. Next, our point of interest is the setup OCI properties. Let me open that. So this is the setup OCI properties file. All these details are auto-populated after we executed our tenancy config in our previous steps. All we have to do is just add the path to our CD3 Excel file here. Next is the workflow type, which is a key parameter in this file. With this flag, you can define if you have to create resources in OCI or export resources from OCI. Since in this demo, we are trying to create resources, I'll keep it as this. I'll save this file. Next, we have to add our image OCID and SSH key in the variables file, if you remember. So for that, I'll have to go into the Terraform files folder. Here, if I do an ls, you can see all the folders for your subscribed regions. Since we are trying to create our instance in Frankfurt region, I'll go into that folder. Here you can see folders for all the services. When executing the tenancy config, I had opted for multiple out directory structure to store the output Terraform files. So that's the reason you can see separate folders for each of the service. This can be helpful when you're managing large number of resources. So I'll go into the compute folder now. You can see all the related Terraform files here and then the variables file for Frankfurt. So we have to go into it. So there's a section called SSH keys where we have to add our SSH key. So SSH underscore public underscore key is the name we have in our Excel template. So here I have to add my SSH key. Next, if we scroll further, you can find a section for platform image OCIDs. Under the variable instance source OCIDs, we'll add our image OCID. So the variable I defined in the Excel template is my image OCID. So we have to provide the same name here as well. I'll say my image OCID and provide the image OCID. Make sure the image OCID is compatible with the shape you selected. So we are good here. I'll save this file. Now we have our Excel template ready and we added the required values in variables file. And we also have added our CD3 Excel file path in the setup OCI properties. Now we are good to execute the setup OCI script. So to execute the setup OCI script, we have to go into the CD3 user, OCI tools, CD3 automation toolkit folder. Here you have the setup OCI.py script. So we have to execute that with the properties file, which is under CD3 user tenancies, CD3 demo, and setup OCI properties. So here we can see few options for the create workflow. So now we are going to create identity, network, and compute resources based on our Excel sheet. Then you're provided with few sub options for each of the service. So under identity, I'm going to create groups and policies. So I'll select that 2 and 3. So it is processing the entries in our Excel template and generating auto.tfrs for each of the service. Next is network. Under network, we have few sub options. I'll select create network. So it is processing all the tabs that are related to VCNs and generating auto.tfrs for them. Next is compute. I'll select option 2 to add instances. So the TFVARS files for all our services are ready. All we have to do is go into this region folder first. Here you can see all the service directories. First, we will create the identity components. I'll go back to Ashburn. Here you can see the identity folder. If you do NLS, you can see the policies and groups TFVARS files here. So all we have to do is do terraform init. Then do a terraform plan. So the terraform plan is generated to create the group and policy. Now execute terraform apply to create these resources. So the apply is complete and the group and policy are created. Now we can go back to the Frankfurt region to create the network and instance. So first we have to create the network. If I do an ls, you can see all the TFVARS files for subnets, route table, security lists, and all that. So let us execute our terraform commands. Next is terraform plan. So here you can see all the resources that are going to be created. Let us do a terraform apply. So the apply is complete for network as well, and our VCN subnets are ready on OCI. Now we can go ahead and create our compute instance in this subnet. So I'll go back to the compute folder. So we'll again execute the terraform commands one by one. I'll generate a plan. I'll do terraform apply. So the apply is complete and our VM and our compute instance is also created. Now let us quickly check these resources in the OCI console. Group, policy, VCN, subnets, and the compute instance. So this is how easily you can create resources in OCI using the CD3 Automation Toolkit. Thanks for joining me for the demo. Stay tuned for more such interesting videos. Thank you.